Hey preteens, how's it going? Hey listen, this week we are talking all about forgiveness. That the fact that servant leaders forgive others. You know, people can be just plain mean, can't they? I'm sure it wouldn't be too hard for you to think about the last time that someone did something to you. Someone said something, someone did something, someone talked behind your back. Someone lied to your face. Someone hurt you physically, emotionally. Doesn't take long. People can be just cruel. We're looking at the life of Joseph, and Joseph had a lot of cruel things happen to him. Think about his brothers in particular. What did they do? They threw him in a well. They sold him into slavery. They lied to their dad saying that he was dead. And that's just the start. I'm sure that there was a lot more that happened even leading up to that point, remember? Because Joseph had told them about the dreams, and they probably talked a lot about Joseph to get to that point. But Joseph's life also was filled with more things that happened to him. Remember the fact that he was in Potiphar's house, and Potiphar's wife lied about what happened between them. And so he was thrown into prison. And then, even with all of that, Joseph made the best of that situation. Remember, there was the baker and the cupbearer, and he interpreted their dreams. And the cupbearer said, I will remember you. I will tell you all about what happened with the Pharaoh. Well, guess what? He forgot about Joseph. In fact, it says in the Bible, it says he forgot about Joseph for 2 years. Joseph could have had a lot of hurt feelings toward a lot of these people. But we will read the story today and read this account in Genesis, and Joseph's reaction to his brothers, who have done so much in particular to him, is a little unexpected. So let's go ahead and read Genesis chapter 45, verses 1 through 15. It says, Then Joseph could no longer control himself before all of his attendants, and he cried out, Have everyone leave my presence. Okay, so let's backtrack just for a second. So if you're not with us last week, Joseph's brothers finally came to Egypt. Why? Because there was a famine. Joseph had interpreted Pharaoh's dreams, remember? He said that there would be 7 years of plenty, good things to eat, crops would be great, but then there would be 7 years where food would be sparse. We are in those 7 years of sparseness, those 7 years of famine. And that includes the surrounding areas, which also included Joseph's family. So Joseph's family did the best that they could for as long as they could, but they knew they had to go to Egypt to get supplies, to get food, to be able to have their family survive. So here are Joseph's brothers at the feet of Joseph, which is something Joseph had dreamed about. This moment was here. They were asking for help. They didn't know it was Joseph. He played a little trick on them. He wanted to see if they were on the up and up. He wanted to see if they had changed. And they had. Joseph started to feel emotional. This was his family. For everything that happened with his brothers, he still loved them. And so he sent all of the other Egyptian people that were in that room away. All his attendants, all his servants, everybody else. The only people left in this room now were Joseph and his brothers. So that's where we are. So again, starting with verse 1. Then Joseph could no longer control himself before of all his attendants, and he cried out, Have everyone leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard all about it. So he got his brothers close. He let them know who he was. Let them know that he wasn't this Egyptian ruler. he was in fact their brother. It was an emotional time, especially for Joseph, who had gone through quite a bit. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. And why wouldn't they be? They knew what they did to their brother. They knew how powerful their brother had become. And Joseph had every right to hold a grudge. He had every right to repay them the evil that they had all done to him throughout his life. So, they were terrified of Joseph, and they had every right to be. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me, because it was to save lives that God sent me. That God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve you, a remnant on the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance." Joseph's perspective is phenomenal, amazing. Joseph is able to step back from the immediate feelings of hurt and the feelings of just holding that grudge to say, "You guys hurt me. I want to hurt you back." Joseph was able to take a step back and to say, there was a bigger picture here. God had something special in mind for his people. And Joseph knew that it was because of what had happened before that he was in a position to save his family now. That is a mind-blowing moment for Joseph to be able to have that composure, to be able to have those thoughts, to be able to get the concept of what God might have been planning this whole time. So he tells his family, "It's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you for selling me into Egypt, because it must have been a part of God's plan." So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son, Joseph, says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. Your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, all that you have, I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will be destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about the honor accorded me in Egypt, and all about everything that you have seen. And bring my father down here quickly." Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin, and he wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping, and he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, his brothers talked with him. So there's a lot going on in this story. There's been a huge buildup to get to this point, right? And Joseph is concerned for his family and for their well-being. He wants to know if his dad is still alive. And he wants his brothers to go back to his father and tell him, not only is your son Joseph alive, but he's a big deal. He is going to help our family. He is going to make sure that God's promise is going to be fulfilled. He is going to make sure that his family is taken care of. Because 2 years of the 7 have already passed. But there are 5 more years of this famine that's going to be in the land. So Joseph wants his father to know everything's going to be okay. I'm going to take care of you guys. So it got me thinking. This is an amazing, incredible story. Joseph forgives his brothers, even after everything that had happened. And that is great, and it's a good story, but it's a reflection of God's forgiveness for us. Now, you've probably not thrown somebody down a well. You've probably not sold somebody into slavery. You've probably not lied to somebody about somebody being dead and allowing them to believe that someone has died. You've probably not done some of those extreme things. God forgives you, even if you had done those things. Our God is a God who forgives us. Our God is a God who loves us. And this forgiveness that Joseph has done and given to his brothers is a reflection of the kind of forgiveness that God gives us. We should be grateful and thankful and relieved that we have a God who doesn't have to hold our sin over us and say, you remember that thing you did all the way back there? Yeah, I still got that. I still got that in my back pocket. I want to bring it out and show it to you, show you your sin again. Our God, once he forgives us, it's done. That sin is forgiven, it's gone. The Bible says it's separated as far as the east is from the west, meaning the east and the west, they never touch. They just don't. So it's gone. So if we have a God who forgives us, if we have a God who does that for us, to wipe away our sin, if we are Christians, we have to be able to forgive other people. We have to be a people of forgiveness. We can't just keep holding sin over people. We have to know that we have to forgive each other. We have to forgive those who wrong us. That's not easy. It's not at all. I don't know what happened in Joseph's mind in particular. I don't know if Joseph was just ready to forgive them on the spot, or if Joseph was kind of going through a lot of emotions. He certainly had a lot of time to think about it. Hey, if my brothers ever come back here, I wonder what I'm going to do. But he made the right choice. He chose to forgive. You and I, we need to make that right choice to forgive other people. When it's easy, when it's hard, it doesn't matter. We have to be forgiving people. Because when people see that we forgive, we are reflecting the forgiveness of God. And they will see what kind of a God that we have. A God who loves and cares for us. A God who forgives our sin. Well, what I want you to do this week, I want you to forgive people. I want you to have a spirit of forgiveness. When someone asks for forgiveness, you should give it to them. God forgives us the instant we ask because Jesus has already paid for it. So we should be ready and willing to forgive other people in the same way. All right, that's all I've got for you guys this week. I'll catch you guys next time.